Order number 12, the Food and Feed Safety Control Coordination Bill, National Assembly Bill number 21 of 2023, second reading. Leader of Majority.
Honorable Speaker, I beg your indulgence on the part of the House, Honorable Speaker, to skip order number 12, the Food and Feed Safety Control Coordination Bill, National Assembly Bill number 21 of 2023, the second reading of this bill, Honorable Speaker, because the committee, this bill, Honorable Speaker, is before two committees, the Committee of Health, and the Chair Health Committee was here, actually was supposed to do this, and the Committee on Agriculture, and they are still considering the report being a joint committee. They are not able to finish during the recess, but the Chair Health has indicated to me that they are meeting this week to try and finalize their report, and hopefully we'll be able to continue the second reading once they table their report, Honorable Speaker, and therefore beg that you do indulge us.
Thank you. That order is therefore stood down. Next order.
Order number 13, the National Rating Bill, National Assembly Bill number 55 of 2022, second reading.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the National Rating Bill, National Assembly Bill number 55 of 2022 be now read a second time. Honorable Speaker, Article 209(5) of the Constitution confers on Parliament the powers to regulate the exercise of fiscal responsibilities by county governments, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, you know, county governments, by dint of the Constitution, have powers to impose levies and taxes on the people. But Parliament is also given powers under Article 209(5) of the same Constitution to regulate the exercise of these fiscal responsibilities by our county governments to ensure, one, that we do not, or rather our county governments do not impose taxes and levies that undermine the greater national good. And two, there is uniformity, certainty, and fairness in the taxes that are levied and rates that are levied across the country, Honorable Speaker, so that we do not have one county levying certain rates and taxes that are so obnoxious as compared to those of other counties, and therefore make even the cost of doing business in certain counties more expensive than others. Honorable Speaker, this is the reason and the object of this bill, which seeks to provide for enhancement, for certainty, for uniformity and fairness in levying of property rates by our county governments, while providing a secure source of income or revenue for many of our county governments that are suffering from very low own source revenue. Honorable Speaker, members will appreciate, and indeed the country appreciates, that our county governments under Schedule 4 of the Constitution are charged with numerous functions and responsibilities. And Kenyans in our constituencies are waiting for all our county governments to offer them goods and services. And many of the people who expect goods and services, Honorable Speaker, are property owners and rateable properties, Honorable Speaker. But some of these properties, even in major cities like Nairobi, you will find a lot of non-uniformity and fairness in the manner in which people are paying rates. For instance, in Embakasi East constituency, where the Honorable Babu Owino comes from and represents the people, Honorable Speaker, you will find somebody with 5 acres in Embakasi East, because that's one of the constituencies within Nairobi where there are still large landowners. But the amount of rates that they are paying to the Nairobi city government is negligible compared to what somebody is paying for in Lavington on half an acre, or in Kilimani on quarter of an acre, Honorable Speaker. And you also find, Honorable Speaker, in this country we have what are called slum not slum landlords, but slum billionaires. You will find someone in Mukuru kwa Jenga or Mukuru kwa Ruben who owns 10 acres of Mabati structures and making probably 10 to 12 million shillings from very vulnerable and poor people who he does not even offer any sanitation facilities for. And that person, the rates you find them paying, because probably even the land is not adjudicated, is negligible. Yet a landlord who is in Kilimani on a block of flats sitting on an eighth of an acre is paying way much higher than even what they are able to collect in terms of rental income and income to themselves. And therefore it creates a situation where there is no uniformity, there is no fairness, and this bill therefore seeks to create that uniformity and fairness in levying of property taxes by county governments. Honorable Speaker, the bill also seeks to consolidate the valuation for Rating Act Cap 266 and the Rating Act Cap 267 into one, which will now be referred as the National Rating Act. And as I said, providing a comprehensive and uniform legislative framework that will regulate how all our county governments across the country levy rates and other levies that they may be levying to property owners. The bill, Honorable Speaker, also seeks to synchronize the terms and definitions in line with current definitions on valuation of rateable property, current practice, Honorable Speaker, because these two acts, the valuation for Rating Act Cap 266 and Cap 267 of the Rating Act, refer to definitions and things that were done back then. But as with all other professions, even in the valuation profession, those of us who have studied land economics and those who are valuers know that there are new terms and definitions in the industry, and therefore this bill seeks also to align to that. It also seeks to identify the mechanisms on how our county governments shall undertake valuation for rating and position of rates on rateable property to reflect the powers, as I said, that were intended under Article 209(3)(a) for counties to impose property taxes or property rates, adhering to Article 10 of the Constitution on values and principles of governance, Article 232 of the Constitution to ensure there is conformity to the values and principles of public service, and of course to Article 232 to conform to the principles of public finance. Honorable Speaker, this bill will also provide for the establishment of the National Rating Tribunal that will be responsible for resolution of disputes relating to property rating. Honorable Speaker, today, if the county government of Nairobi or the city government of Nairobi imposed rates on the Honorable Robert Mbui, who I know owns quite a number of properties in Embakasi South, and the Honorable Mbui felt that they were being unfair, he has no recourse. And therefore, we are creating a recourse so that the Honorable Robert Mbui, if he feels his investments in Kathiani are rated better than those in Embakasi South, then he has somewhere a tribunal that he can walk to and appeal to. And therefore, we will create that mechanism for him through this bill. We also enhance the use of appropriate technology in undertaking valuation for rating and rating related purposes. Honorable Speaker, you know, in the past you had to walk the miles to be able to identify where particular land parcels are. Today, with modern technology and with geo-positioning technology, we can be able to use geo-positioning technology to be able to identify exactly where a piece of land is. I was saying, Honorable Speaker, you will find billionaires who own land in our slum areas, but because the title reads Mukuru kwa Jenga or Mukuru kwa Ruben, and maybe that Mukuru kwa Ruben is a title that, or the description of the area that is reading that, but you find with time South B Estate or Plainsview has now gone into some of those formerly slum areas, and therefore the value of land in that area is not as accurate as it was 10 years ago, Honorable Speaker. But with modern technology, you'll be able to geoposition that particular land reference number and know exactly where is this land. You can even be able to estimate the actual size of any size of land and this technology
Honorable Babu Owino, this is not Embakasi. You do not just cross the floor like that.
Thank you. You know, Honorable Babu Owino might be imagining he's in Jacaranda grounds. But we must forgive him because he was just released the other day from police cells. Honorable Speaker, I was saying with modern technology, it is possible to even be able to now, with geopositioning, estimate, not actually estimate, get the actual size of land without land values having to go and using very rudimentary technology to value land. And therefore, this bill now also creates that opportunity for us to be able to use modern technology in undertaking valuations, because technology also enhances fairness and certainty. And therefore, unlike in the past where you have to talk, what in Kenyan parlance they say is kuongea na chai ama kitu kidogo, to value us, to be able to value land for you appropriately. Now you will not need to do that. With modern technology, you can be able to know this value, the value of land in this particular area, the size is this much, and similar properties around that area are paying whatever amount they are paying, and therefore have a system that is fair. Honorable Speaker, this bill also has identified the role of counties for the implementation of the objects of the Act, which shall include ensuring, as I said, there is fair and equal treatment to all rateable owners. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it is not fair that there are people in this country, and I'll give you a case example, Honorable Speaker, of kahawa wendani, kahawa sukari. You will find many people who, including members of parliament, who live in kahawa wendani and kahawa sukari, and they are paying rates to the county government of Kiambu and some to the county government of Nairobi. But across the river, you will find people who own ranches within the city, but they don't pay rates either to the county government of Nairobi or the county government of Kiambu. And Honorable Speaker, we must ensure that there is fairness. It is not fair that somebody in Kahawa Sukari or Kahawa Wendani is paying rates, but another person, probably because of positions they have occupied over the years, they don't pay rates. Honorable Speaker, now with this kind of bill, there will be fairness. The county government of Nairobi will be able to levy rates. I know the member for Embakasi West, Honorable Mwenje, is getting itchy when I speak about these things. But it's only fair that every taxpayer pays their due taxes, even on land. Whether you own a ranch within the city, whether you own an eighth of an acre like myself, whether you own no land like the member from Kisii County, or the Honorable Mikal owns a lot of land in Karen, so he cannot be raising his hand for me to point to him. Meant the Honorable Elvis, who does not own land in Nairobi, but he owns land, huge chunks in Kisii. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, there will be fairness with this new bill. We also ensure, Honorable Speaker, that the burden of property rating is shared fairly amongst the ratepayers. And that's what I was driving to, that if you have more land, you pay more. If you have less land, you pay less. And therefore, you share the burden, Honorable Speaker. Because the only reason why levies and rates and taxes are levied on people is because you are the people, if you are property owners, you are the people enjoying the services that will be offered by the county governments. Kenyans are very quick at demanding services and supply of goods and services in their neighborhoods. And you've seen, Honorable Speaker, in the recent past, the upcoming of gated communities. All these gated communities are coming up, and the people who sell what they call, in my local language, buroti maguta maguta. And those who understand the language know what buroti maguta maguta is. Those people who sell serviced plots, Honorable Speaker, will market those plots as service plots. And all they do is grade a Maram Road, put 5 poles of solar lighting, no provision of sewer services, No, they probably bring in one line of and put one tap to show you that there is clean drinking water. But they never tell you when you build and develop that property, with time, even if they had a borehole on that property, Honorable Speaker, that borehole will not be very healthy to use or very secure to use for drinking water, because you are sinking septic pits, and whatever comes from your sewer system is percolating into the water that you are then drinking with those gated communities. Therefore, it's only fair, Honorable Speaker, that there are levied rates that will ensure that county governments are able to provide them with proper sewerage. They are able to bring them adequate water to use in those gated communities, Honorable Speaker. And because this is going out even beyond Nairobi and our cities, even in our rural areas, Honorable Speaker, today if you go to Kikuyu, what was otherwise known as Diaspora, because it was all grazing land in the past, today there are Nairobi Ndogos, there are huge, very modern estates being built there, but requisite services are not coming, and we must ensure that our county governments have adequate revenues to be able to provide those all services, whether it is roads, whether it is water, whether it is sewer systems, street lighting, so that, Honorable Speaker, again, our people do not fall prey to the vendors of land that who market land as serviced, but it is not serviced. It's just one tap that is put there to show people that there is water. Only when you build and you start living there, you realize it's only one line of water that came but could not supply beyond 1,000 liters a day, Honorable Speaker. This bill, Honorable Speaker, also takes cognizance of the needs of the county and promotes imposition of rates to boost social and economic development. Those are the issues I'm speaking to conduct effective public participation and public awareness, that now counties, Honorable Speaker, and this, Honorable Speaker, speaks to an incident I have seen in my own county in Kiambu, that without proper public participation, Honorable Speaker, and public awareness, county governments embark on systems of changing what rates they are levying to property owners, Honorable Speaker. And the lack of public awareness and public participation means that even our members of county assemblies appear before their county assemblies and pass whatever legislative proposals are put before them without paying regard to the impact of those propositions on landowners, Honorable Speaker. I have seen in my own county in Kiambu, land that is agricultural and freehold that previously was not rateable. The county assembly in one finance bill, I think in 2017 or 2018, imposed rates even on agricultural land. Honorable Speaker, you can imagine a farmer in Ondire, or a farmer in my village where I come from, or a farmer in Kikambura, or a farmer in Kerwa, or a farmer in some village in Karachuonyo. Should the county government in Karachuonyo impose such rates as those that were done in Kiambu, is now required to pay rates in terms of hundreds of thousands for 2 acres, at times to an extent where they are required to pay rates higher than what they are able to produce on that particular farm. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, if you do not have a legislative framework that will ensure that there is fairness, there is certainty, so that whether you are in Kikuyu or Kabete or even Ufere here, Honorable Speaker, and you are farming, you cannot be levied rates at the same rate as somebody who has developed his land or subdivided his land and has built blocks of apartments, and you are required to pay the same rates. That person who is generating more revenue or more income from rental income should be able to pay more rates than a farmer who is producing food, so that we also don't discourage our farmers. Honorable Speaker, if you go to Netherlands, and I'm sure, Honorable Speaker, we have time had a trip with you to The Hague way back in 2015 or 2016. You remember, as we landed early in the morning in Netherlands, right outside the airport, farmers are growing wheat. And you will find the same in very many other capitals around this country, because there is deliberate policy by government to ensure that you encourage even urban farming. And people who are farming even near cities are able to have tax regimes and tax administration policies that encourage them to get into farming, so that we don't only encourage people to get into what is the creation of concrete jungles today, because rental income will generate more money, but all those people have no food. Honorable Speaker, today we are crying about the cost of food, but we are crying because of over the cost of food. Kitengela here, Honorable Speaker, parts of Kajiado, parts of the lower Machakos, Honorable Speaker, are areas where people would be growing food if we encourage them. Those who have freehold land, those who can farm. The county government of Machakos, of Kajiado, of Kiambu, encourage farmers, someone holding an acre and can grow crops, food crops, encourage them to do that. And there must be that not discrimination, what do you call it? Disparity between those who are in income generating activity and those who are growing food, so that we encourage farmers. Honorable Speaker, this bill will also provide for a criteria for the determination of categories of, for instance, rateable properties for purposes of levying of different rates, and those that will be exempt rateable property uses. And Honorable Speaker, that's what I was speaking to. For instance, agricultural land, county governments could classify certain areas where there is agricultural land as exempt from paying property rates, because we want to encourage agriculture and food production. A county government could also determine, for instance, in Thika, that industries are what they want to encourage, and therefore create lower rates for industries and levy more for those who want to do housing and or even grow food crops. Those in Kisumu could decide that if you are creating landing bays around the lake, then you will enjoy lower property rates, so that you encourage investors to come and invest in our counties. Honorable Speaker, we also, through this bill, ensure that there is prudent and responsible use of funds collected for purposes of this act to enhance service delivery in our counties. So that, Honorable Speaker, there is also a clear, transparent, and accountable system in our county governments to ensure that whatever rates counties are collecting. Today, Honorable Speaker, I had instance about 3 or 4 months ago. I wanted to get a loan from somewhere, and I needed a rates clearance certificate. When you walk into the county government of Kiambu offices, depending on which officer you find which day and their moods or what you have to offer them, you get different valuations. Honorable Speaker, this must be a thing of the past. Any Kenyan should be able to know, even online, how much rates are your property subject to, so that you know at the beginning of the year, my 1 acre property in Karachuonyo, I will pay 10,000 shillings. And therefore, it will not be at the whims of a revenue officer down in the county government, because this is what is happening in all our counties. And now speaking about Kiambu, I'm only making reference to Kiambu because that's where I come from. Even in Nairobi County, and I'm a property owner in Nairobi County also, so I know. You will get various amounts depending on who, which day, and the mood they are in, and whether you look like someone they could talk to. So they give you a bill depending on who you are and how you approach them. So we want that to be a thing of the past, so that Kenyans transparently are able to know, even if I am able to, through geopositioning, tag onto a land reference number in Lodwar town, I should be able to know online how much rates will I pay. So that even banks, when they are advancing credit to members of the public, they are even able to know their approximate value based on the rates that are being paid. Because today, Honorable Speaker, again, many banks are holding titles as security that are worthless, because people colluded with valuers, they colluded with government officers, banks got collateral for land that is basically valueless. But with a proper system like this that will be created under this rating act, Honorable Speaker, we'll be able to put some of these things behind us. Honorable Speaker, I did speak about the need for effective public participation and public awareness to ensure that members of the public again, Honorable Speaker, know. So that even as I buy land in Narok County to grow wheat, I should know what are the rates that the county government of Narok will levy on that land and be able to do my arithmetics and be able to determine whether I'll make money from the wheat growing. If I want to develop a block of flats in Kitengela or in Mwalongo, I'll be able to know what are the rates that are chargeable, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, we also in a way encourage foreign direct investments into our counties, both from foreign and domestic investors, Honorable Speaker. And this is something that we must continuously encourage people to invest across the country. And for that to happen, Honorable Speaker, there must be certainty on what is rateable, what is not rateable, what rates people are going to pay. Honorable Speaker, lastly, this bill proposes to introduce 4 forms of rating. This will be the annual rent of value rate, where land is rated annually, and you know with certainty this is how much you pay annually. There is an area rate, as I was saying, even now with global positioning and modern technology, you should be able to determine on what size of land you pay what amount, whether it's per square meter or per hectare or per square foot. Then an improved site value rate and a site value rate in combination with an improvement rate. Because, Honorable Speaker, it's also not fair. There are properties even within CBD that are not developed, and therefore there is no improvement on that land. But you find on a property that has a 20-story building where someone is collecting about $500 million shillings in rental income, they are paying an equivalent rate with that person who is using his land within the CBD as a parking lot, or giving that land to our market traders to use for the Maasai market on Tuesdays and the day they are doing. So there must be that distinction on the area, whether land is improved, whether it is not improved. And I was speaking, Honorable Speaker, even in the rural constituencies and rural areas and rural counties, even on land that is agricultural and non-agricultural land. And I want to believe, Honorable Speaker, as we come to the third reading, the Committee of Lands will consider bringing amendments to make sure that there is also a clear distinction between agricultural land. And, Honorable Speaker, I am very particular on agriculture, and I have said this deliberately, Honorable Speaker, in moving this bill, because one of the greatest risks that we face in this country today is that of food insecurity. The housing agenda, Honorable Speaker, as vilified as it was being vilified, Honorable Speaker, in a way addresses the question of food insecurity also. Because we are fragmenting our land, Honorable Speaker. Before, some years back, the lowest fragmentation was 50 by 100, which is an eighth of an acre. Today, Honorable Speaker, I have seen in my own county fractions of 20 by 80. And I have tried to, Honorable Speaker, there are 40 by 80s. Those so-called gated estates, they are telling people, we are selling you quarter an acre, but we are selling you a 40 by 80, some 70 by 30. In Embakasi, they will tell you they are all 33 by 66. And, Honorable Speaker, those are the issues we are speaking to, that we must have those distinctions, Honorable Speaker, so that when we come to the third reading, we are able to ensure there is actual fairness. Because the more we fragment our land, the more we expose ourselves to food insecurity. If we are able to safeguard our land from further fragmentation and secure more of our land for use for agricultural purposes, encourage our farmers by giving them lower property rates on agricultural land, we encourage even more of our young people to get into food production and agriculture and secure food security, but not this business that we are now in of what I call broti maguta, where every free and open space in this country today now is up for fragmentation and subdivision for housing estates that are even not planned and defined. Honorable Speaker, therefore, this bill will be able to address some of those things. The bill, Honorable Speaker, has also provided for the appointment and powers of a valuer to undertake preparation of valuation roles, and also introduce the office of the chief government valuer with respect to standardization and harmonization on preparation and implementation of the valuation roles across the counties. Because, Honorable Speaker, as I said, we leave it to the whims of revenue officers in our counties to determine what rates to levy on property owners. Honorable Speaker, that becomes a very good avenue for corruption. That's why I was saying in my own county, depending on which officer you find on which day, you will get a different figure. And they all get those figures from the system, funny enough. I don't know what they do to the system. Some will indicate for you on a piece of paper. Some will generate in a system. I don't know how they're able to change those systems. So we want a system where we have a chief government valuer who will be able to rationalize, so that based on the value of land in different parts of the country, the chief government valuer now will be able to standardize and harmonize the valuation roles across the counties, so that one county doesn't overtax people as opposed to another, and therefore make some of our counties very unfavorable or unattractive for investments, whether by local or foreign investors. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, Part 4 of this bill contains provisions on the valuation for rating, declaration of rateable areas, and methods used for valuation, and proposes to introduce a valuation cycle of 5 years, with provision that the county assemblies can extend the period for a maximum of 2 years. The bill further provides guidance on the preparation and content of valuation roles and supplementary valuation roles, together with alterations, publication, and objections thereof, and exceptions provided. Honorable Speaker, it's important that whatever valuation roles we come up with in our counties, every 5 years we're able to review them, and the county assemblies can extend those valuation roles or whatever they are using for the rateable areas for a maximum of 2 years, so that again all our county governments appraise themselves with the current developments. And you see, Honorable Speaker, in many of our rural areas, with a massive investment put in the development of infrastructure, whether it is rail or road infrastructure, Honorable Speaker, you find areas that in about 5 years ago were not accessible by road or by rail, today or in another 5 years are accessible. And therefore, the value of land keeps fluctuating and changes. There are other happenings that could also devalue land, although very rare, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, if you go for a long time without being able to review, then county governments will lose the opportunity to be able to collect rates from their areas. Therefore, we want to ensure that every 5 years, our county governments are able to review the rateable properties and the rates that they are charging, and the areas where the rateable areas and the methods that they use for valuation, so that they keep appraising their sources of revenue, Honorable Speaker, to be able to generate more revenue. And I was saying, Honorable Speaker, in the earlier debate on the VAT and market digital place, we did commit as a Kenya Kwanza government, right from the campaign to when His Excellency the President took over as the leader of this nation last year, that this government will be deliberate and intentional in ensuring that we create new avenues of raising revenue or revenue raising measures, not just what we did in the digital marketplace, VAT and other taxes, but even in this Rateable Ratings Act, we are seeking to create new avenues for our county governments across the country, even Marsabit County, where my sister, Honorable Naomi Wako, comes from, and I know she's working very hard, hopefully to be the next governor for that county. Should that happen, Honorable Speaker, we want to ensure that her and other members of parliament here who intend to run for governor positions have very good sources of revenue. For instance, Nandi County, where the Honorable Meli comes from, is one area. And I mentioned the Honorable Meli deliberately because I also know he intends to run for governor. But he must be here to make sure that his own county in Nandi, the tea estates there, the levy of property taxes is fair, and is able to collect adequate rates on land in Nandi County to ensure that when he becomes governor, or Naomi Wako is governor for Marsabit, or someone else is governor for Busia, you have sources of revenue that you will not become another crybaby to be asking for money from the center. Because all our governors have huge opportunities. And I must take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to thank governors. Like the governor for Kirinyaga. I think I also saw the governor for Tharaka Nithi, governor for Murang'a, governors who have embarked on shoring up their own source revenues within a very short time. And we must encourage these governors, Honorable Speaker, so that even those of us who sit here and who have intent of being governors, don't just look for positions of governors to go and start crying out loud, oh, how much money have we not received from the central government? By the time you are getting money from the center, you should have generated adequate revenues to pay your workers, so that the money you get from the center goes to development. But it cannot be, and it's not feasible, Honorable Speaker, that 90% of our governors are crying for money from the center to pay salaries. It is not feasible, Honorable Speaker. But we must also, and we have an obligation as members of parliament and as lawmakers, to make laws that will ensure that our governors have systems where they can collect, whether it is these rates from property, whether it is levies for the massive infrastructural development that we have seen across many of our counties in water and sanitation. Honorable Speaker, many of our people assume that sewer, because it's sewerage and is filth, is free. Yes, it is free when you are pumping it out of your body and flushing it out of your toilet. But when it gets into a county government funded or a government funded sewer system, you as a person who has dispensed that sewer should be paying to the county government, and the county governments must ensure they have even metered ways of being able to collect revenue from sewer, so that the more you use and the more you dispense into the sewer system to go to Embakasi, Ryan, wherever, Honorable Speaker, you pay. Because you pay to eat. So pay to also dispense what you eat, Honorable Speaker, and where it ends up you must pay. I say this, Honorable Speaker, because I have seen a lot of communities protesting. They cheer when government is creating sewer and water systems in their villages and their backyards, but they don't want to pay for those systems. And they forget those sewerage systems are being done for your own health. And Dr. Mikal will tell you here, being a very good doctor, former director of health in the Ministry of Health, do estates, these gated communities we are doing, I was indicating, Honorable Speaker, drill a borehole, have 20, 30 septic tanks. The water that percolates into the aquifers, that water is going when it is already polluted. And it is the same water that we then pump out from boreholes without treating. Because we say, oh, it's borehole water, it's clean water. Part of it is very dangerous water and dangerous for our health, Honorable Speaker. But land developers and property developers will never let you do this. But as government, as legislators, you have a duty and a responsibility to ensure that the water our people drink is secure and is safe. And therefore, we also have a duty to ensure that we secure the sources of revenue that our county governments will be able to generate revenue out of, so that we're able to provide the sewer systems, the clean water and safe drinking water, Honorable Speaker, provide secure environments by giving our estates and our neighborhoods street lighting, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, as I move, let me encourage all of us to support this bill and to think through all our neighborhoods. Those who come from our cities, have in mind the housing agenda and the new owners of property. How will someone who owns a studio on the 40th floor of a building in Ziwani pay for rates to the county government because he is enjoying to the 40th floor? He will expect to have clean drinking water and clean water to flush their toilets and use their showers. Therefore, they must be paying something to their county government for the county government of Nairobi to be able to provide that clean water and sewer services in that city. Those of us who come from rural and peri-urban constituencies, let us also have in mind the issues I'm speaking to, and I hope the chair who will be seconding this chair in charge of the lands committee will put in mind the issues I've spoken to on land that is being used for agriculture, so that we also secure and encourage land used for agriculture. Because when it becomes fashionable and more profitable to only build brick and mortar, then all agricultural land will end up with brick and mortar, and eventually will become a net importer of food. Honorable Speaker, I had the opportunity this Sunday to visit a farm in Taita Taveta County, and I was impressed with the potential of agriculture even in what are otherwise very dry areas of our country, semi-arid and arid areas. The potential, the soils are fertile and all they lack is water. And with provision of water, we can turn around and make our country food secure. But even as we do that, we must bear in mind 10 to 50 years to come, what will happen to our country if we discourage our farmers, if we even discourage our young people from getting into agriculture through taxes that we are levying either on farm implements. And I must thank the Finance Committee because they were deliberate during the Finance Bill. As I keep repeating, Honorable Speaker, the Finance Act is vilified without people paying regard to the very good propositions that lay in that Finance Act, where farm implements, farm inputs were zero rated, some taxes were removed from them, so that we even encourage people to get into farming, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, that's why I'm saying, even as we consider this bill, I hope during the third reading, the Committee on Lands will ensure that we also safeguard that aspect of agricultural land, so that, again, our counties do not levy property rates on agricultural land or land set aside for use for agriculture, Honorable Speaker. And as I said, I have that good experience in Kiambu County, because there is no distinction between land that is agricultural and land that is for other developments. And therefore you find farmers now are opting to subdivide their land and build houses, because that is the only way they'll be able to pay the rates the rates that are being levied by their county governments. Therefore, we must have a distinction, so that a farmer who is growing vegetables in Kikuyu or a farmer who is growing avocados in Murang'a does not get encouraged to get into housing and subdivide his land into 30 by 70s to be able to generate more money, to be able to pay the rates to their county government, but they can grow their avocados, they can grow their vegetables, and be able to pay affordable rates to their county governments. And I would even propose that land set aside for agriculture, the property rates be almost zero or negligible. It should be 0.0000005%. So that there is something, but there is nothing. So that food, you know, I've seen people, the other day they were in the streets telling us, we do not want houses, we want food. The place to come and say we want food is here with this bill, and make it happen. The place to make sure that we have policies that we encourage farmers to grow crops even within our urban areas. I was saying now Kajiado, if you go to Kitengela, you go to Isinya, all the way almost to Bisil, all that land now is going up in brick and mortar. But it's fertile land, virgin land, where nobody has ever farmed. If anything, it's only animals that have done their business on that land and provided compost organic manure that makes the land very fertile. Therefore, we must encourage our young people in Kajiado, in Kiambu, and in every part of this country to get into agriculture, so that we say we are food secure, so that tomorrow, and I must appreciate that now food prices are going down. Honorable Speaker, you know when the president said that the other day that you do not, food doesn't come from the market, it comes from the farms. People thought it was a joke. And we told them that food prices in this country will come down. I am glad. I have seen even the hateful media, those who can never write anything good about this administration, at least today they are publishing news saying that eventually food prices are coming down, which is a good thing, because we did the right thing by subsidizing inputs for agriculture, encouraging people to go back to the farms. And I must thank even those of our colleagues from the minority who have seen the wisdom of getting out of the streets and joining other Kenyans in the farms, members of parliament joining us back in the house to legislate and give rise to policies that will make food more affordable to the people of Kenya. This is the way that we must encourage each other to work, and I welcome the Honorable Mwenje, the Honorable Zamzam, the Honorable Member for Starehe back to the house after the short stint in the streets, and I'm sure they will now have time to settle down and now learn how to be good legislators by coming to propagate issues that touch on the people of Nyamakima here in the house, Honorable Mwenje, those that touch on the people where sewer flows to through Embakasi West. So that now you must tell the people they must pay for the sewer. And